Welcome everybody to SEAL Team 7, Episode 2, post-Rebirth discussion. Rebirth is out. People have played it. We've taken enough time away from the end of the game that we can start talking about it. I have a variety of guests lined up. This is Episode 2, and I am very, very, very happy to be sharing this space with my good friend, Sector 6 Gaming, who just beat the game, I don't know, like, what, 2-3 days ago?
Yeah, about 3 or 4 days ago.
Yeah.
So I'm still fresh. I'm still raw.
It's a long game. Like, it's a long game. It took a lot of... Yeah. There's, like...
It doesn't let you... It grabs you as well. It stops... I mean, yeah. I'll let you carry on, but it just stops you. It makes you stop and do things.
It does. It does. And it's definitely, like, hard for completionists who have that kind of, you know, OCD about games and completionist stuff. Like, it's really hard to let some of it go. But I do actually argue that the best way to play Rebirth is to do about half of the side quests on the first playthrough, and then the rest in New Game Plus. But I couldn't do that. You know, like, I'm not built that way, and but I wish I had, and I know people that did, and they had I think a different sort of feeling about the narrative pacing and flow. So, Sector 6, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and what kind of creations your content encompasses, and where we can find you.
Creations making me sound all hojo. No, I'm Set 6. I make news videos, theory videos, guide videos, just anything that takes my fancy, really, about Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy VII predominantly. I'm looking forward to getting back into the whole theory thing now. You know, like, because with Remake it kind of dried out after a little bit, like all the theories had kind of been tapped, and it just became about speculating more about Rebirth and like reacting to interviews and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to getting back into actual theory crafting now. But yeah, YouTube, Twitch. On Twitch I just prat around mostly. Just play games, just play random games, have some fun. But YouTube, definitely going to be knuckling down now. It's felt weird. I've not posted a video for about 3 weeks until the other day, you know, because Rebirth, like, I had nothing to talk about because I was in
because
it.
Rebirth took
doing it.
Yeah, took
everything. Yeah.
Your whole life. Yeah, I went into a hole with it too, like, and everybody was like, where did you go? And then they realized where I went.
It was funny because I noticed that you disappeared. You were doing your playthroughs, weren't you? Your Remake playthroughs, and you disappeared. And as soon as that happened, I was like, oh yeah, he's got it. I can't talk to Baby Seal now for about a month.
Yeah, and I respected that. I felt bad too because I wanted, you know, you're one of those people that I kind of talk to, and I have kind of like a real, I don't know, similarity in just like the way that I overall respond to lore. And so, you know, I wanted to run stuff by you, but obviously could not. And didn't want to spoil it for you either.
Yeah, exactly. I was in the hole. I was gone.
Okay, give me your overall impressions. What did you think?
Like, I'm still kind of trying to process how they actually pulled it off, if I'm being honest with you. It doesn't feel real still. It's insane that they managed to do it. Like, especially like last year, Baldur's Gate 3 came out. And for me, that was one of the craziest gaming experiences that I'd had since FF7. And then this happens like 9 months later. And it's ludicrous. It's probably my favourite Final Fantasy post PS1. If not everything since 7. If not just everything but 7. It's just, it kind of delivered on what Remake set up for me. Remake kind of set it up that we were going to go out into the world and things were going to be different, but things were going to be the same, and we were going to get to experience all of those things that we saw back in the 90s when we were playing FF7, and it actually delivered it. And I'm not used to my expectations being met so resoundingly.
That's fair. It's
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And there were bad things. I mean, not bad things, but things that I didn't enjoy as much about it. And there were aspects that I wasn't a fan of, but overall, insane. Ludicrous is a word I've used a lot.
I agree. I you know, a lot of people have said best Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy X, and I get that for sure. I understand that, and for me, like, For me, I mean, it's the
I will
best
say
game.
the bias for 7 definitely helps it.
It does, for
Yeah.
sure. It does. But it also, for me, like, also, I was, I've shared this a couple times now, but I was kind of dooming right before Juno, like right before, like in the under Junon, like the second open world section. I will admit I was probably a little bit like I don't want to say spoiled, but a little jaded because I'd done the preview event, and so I'd done a lot of the grasslands area, and so I was worried that this was going to feel like, I don't know. Not narrative enough. Not narrative enough was kind of my fear. I was kind of dooming, and then I was like, "Oh, this is a great open world game. I love doing all this stuff. The combat's working." But I was worried that it was going to cost, any like the substance stuff. But then once I got to Junon, it was like, okay, this is the purest soul ever. Like, I got to the bald bar, I was like screaming. Oh. And like
it was brilliant.
Family was. I had nobody to talk to either, so family just thought I was like in in some kind of duress.
Have you got wife insane? In there? What's happening?
Wife in there's going like, what? Why are you so excited about bald people? And it was just it was like that was like, oh yeah, this is delivering on soul, and then it was really for me all uphill, so I really liked it.
Junon, I really enjoyed the ball people bit, but like one of my favorite bits about Junon was the troops following you around when you recruited them, and like the little thing, did you find what you were looking for, sir? When you came out of shops and stuff like that, it was amazing. I love that so much.
I know there was a ton of just
everywhere
little moments there, and it was also the thing where I was like, oh, they really understand the aesthetic value too, like, because Calm looked beautiful, don't get me wrong, it looked great, but like the consistency between like Calm and all of the Republic of Junon stuff that they were setting up, and then that being like clearly the former capital, and then like it being like the apex of like a single generation before, was like, okay, they've got world building down. It's not phoned in at all. This is like, they've spent a ton of time creating context for everything. So
it was all woven into each area, like everything kind of fed into it, and kind of it just enhanced the feeling and the immersion of it. Like, it's still unbelievable to me. It genuinely is.
I'll get to my like next official question, but here's an unofficial one. Did you notice the terrier in Junon?
I did, but I kind of got spoiled on it before I actually got to it. I saw a tweet about it, and because it's just on the wall, isn't it? Like,
it's like a random sign that says it's a random sign that says like temporarily closed, and then it's got the terrier. And then there was some bags in like a hard to reach room, or not like a easy to walk by room in Gold Saucer too. But so that was wild to see. I was losing my mind. Okay, so we'll start with like the what you thought of it stuff question. So first of all, I'll give you 2, so you can answer twice for both of these questions. First question, favorite chapters?
13. It might actually just be 13 and 14,
Wow.
It might actually just be 13 and 14. I really enjoyed the Nebel area. I really enjoyed the Corel area. What was Corel now? Chapter 7?
So, Mount Corel was chapter 7. So, like the Corel reactor and stuff like that?
Yeah, where we first see the weapon and stuff. I don't know. 13 resonated massively with me, like the trials that people went through and stuff like that. And just as kind of like an action set piece, it was super fun to go through. So at 13's in 100%. And the temple itself was just insane. And like, the thing with the holograms, the Sectron holograms when you walk into, like, I can't deal with it. So 13's in.
Man, that is so that It's
13
what
is definitely in.
I loved particularly the like last quarter of that chapter a lot.
Yeah.
It's one of the chapters that, you know, like
Cloud in that chapter as well. Oh my god.
it's also got my favorite music of any of the chapters.
Go on.
I'm upset that the music in chapter 13 isn't in chapter 14, but I still loved it. Like, listen to the cries of the planet, like the weird version that turns into when it turns into the battle theme, then it turns into the real temple theme. But yeah, I love those moments. I just loved how creepy the end of 13 was too. I loved it, but you'd probably be surprised to know it's maybe one of the most criticized chapters. Not for story reasons, but because of the
length of it.
The length of the chapter.
Yeah, it is a bit long, but I kind of fully expected that. And then the
final
shortness of
dungeon.
chapter 14 in comparison, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It kind of worked in that context. Because I was expecting 14 to end up being much longer than it ended up being. I thought we were going to have to kind of work our way through to the city, to the Forgotten Capital. But the way it just kind of bam straight in, I was like, all right, cool.
And then 14 was yeah. I mean, that's another one. You're
very divisive chapter, I can imagine.
But like easily one of my favorites. I have some criticisms of like some of the music in there, and then I also empathize with people that were like upset with the the thing that happened in it, and we'll talk about that later. The thing that happened in it. But I love that shit and lived for it, and felt like
crazy.
I felt like the game was made for me. I was like, oh, I'm the only one that's gonna like this shit. Like I was.
And I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but there's a lot of additional layers on top of the thing.
I know.
So many additional.
I love the interlude portion too. Like, to me, like the first part, and this is something that people will try and punch me in the head over. But it's like I did not feel, the thing about 14 that I really liked is that I did not feel necessarily like the interlude was going to deliver on anything that meant anything until the end. And it did. I really loved all of the moments of the interlude. Like, with the exception of like the one thing where Biggs gets shot in the head, and then and then Zack's like, "Smell you later, assholes," and then just jumps off the cliff.
Bro.
Yes, like, "See you never," and it's like, okay, all right, okay, well, never change, Zack. I can see.
It was just, I feel like for us and people that kind of get into the same sort of things like us, the theory crafting side of things, I think 13 and 14 are kind of going to be a given for being up there as favourites. Because of what goes down. It's the crux of what we are looking at, pretty much. Right,
and like, I couldn't like just rewatch it on YouTube while I was doing, initial analyzing, and so I have I've like my copy that of captured footage of the ending from like the last quarter to chapter 14. My media player counter says that I've played it, and this is like a real number, 97 times. So that's before I even got leaked on YouTube, and I'd still watch it like almost every a couple times a day, just like that whole segment, just watching it over and over and over again.
Because there's so many different moments that kind of and see, I'm looking forwards to playing through the whole game again with the context of the ending, which I've not managed to do yet. Just because there's a lot of moments in the end that I think we will be able to infer things from earlier on. I just need to create the connections by playing through it again. But there's just so much that happens and so many possibilities. Like, I'm sure we'll talk about it later. But 13 and 14, probably.
Right on. Okay.
Chapter 8, maybe chapter 8, 9. I'll tell you what my worst is, if that's going to be a question.
It is my next one. Chapter 9 was actually my favorite chapter, by the way. I loved Gungaga. I love, like, I punished Cloud. I just, please, like, if Cloud spends 3/4 of part 3 just soaking in the blood of his enemies, I'll never need to play another game again. But what are your least favorite chapters?
So my least favorite chapter by a pretty considerable distance is Gongaga.
I hear you. So okay, that's interesting.
And I have to split it into two components here.
Right.
The narrative aspects of Gongaga, perfect. Absolutely loved them.
Okay.
The whole reactor thing and everything
completely hear you. Yeah. But the map.
Oh.
Yeah, the map sucks. Nobody's arguing with you there. It is really hard to navigate. Also, maybe this is a hot take, but like the basic music,
not a fan.
Didn't like it. It felt like one quarter of a near track. Like one.
It's kind of someone on the comments on one of my videos said it sounds like one of those, those Sounds of the Rainforest CDs that you can get and you just kind of chill and listen to it.
Yeah, like you would see commercials, you'd see TV commercials for it, or you would go to stores and they would have the little kiosks where you could play the sound of nature. Dude, that is exactly what it is.
But it also has probably my favorite music in the game, potentially, or one of my favorite bits of music in the game. Because
the live stream Hans Zimmer.
When the weapon music's
really good.
Oh my god! I had a physical reaction to that music kicking in. It was insane.
So I agree. I agree, and part of the reason I'm not like when I'm rating chapters, I'm not rating the region, is because I've detached the chapter from the region because I have a platinum in this game, and so most of my exploration of all of the regions happen in chapter 12 and 13, so it's like hard for me to even like connect the two. But I fully agree on Gongaga, like regionally. Also, some of the worst.
People say the same about Cosmo as well, that they're not a fan of the navigation in the Cosmo area.
There are a few annoying things about that too, because you have to find the exact specific like glide point to get to certain things and
follow the correct route.
Yeah, that's true. That's another irritation. Open world wise, weirdly, the region that seems like it should be the most closed off is Nibelheim, but it's actually the easiest to navigate with the flying chocobo and shit.
So much fun as well.
I loved gliding with the chocobo. Yeah. I did a lot. So okay, so how about from like a narrative perspective, what are your least favorite, let's say, segments of the game?
You know what? There's not many things that I didn't really enjoy.
I'm gonna
possibly annoy people a little bit. I really don't like what they've done with Red. I get why they've done it.
You mean his voice?
Yeah, I feel like they've done two extremes.
Have you heard?
If they'd have kind of met in the middle a little bit more.
Have you heard the Japanese voice?
Oh no, is it horrifying?
It'll make you like the English one.
Oh, will it?
Okay, dude. Like, you know how Goku sounds in Japanese still?
Oh yeah.
It's like that.
Oh.
So it does sound like a 75-year-old woman. And I don't have an issue with that, but it is very different. So it's like even more different.
It's jarring.
Yeah.
It's very jarring going from like the old wizened sounding Red 13 to the really young. I don't know. It's just a bit too much. I think they went too far apart with it. They should have started each of them a bit closer together, maybe.
I did have like a feeling like I don't know. I feel uncomfortable. I've turned on it a little bit because I've redone all the side quests in hard mode. Another reason, by the way, that I feel like it's a good idea maybe to save side quests for second playthrough is, despite it not being tied to the platinum like at all, several manuscripts are tied to side quests in hard mode only.
So you have to redo.
So you have to redo them if you want to max out all the weapons, all the weapon abilities for all the side characters, which really does come in handy if everybody's weapon level 10 for some of the harder Chadley challenges. So it is
Please
kind of.
You don't have to do the chickens again.
We have to do the chickens again. So that's interesting to know. I like hearing people that have that much of a like kind of positive take on the story. I
just enjoyed it. Like,
yeah.
it was just fun the whole way through. Like, with Remake, there were a couple of dead chapters, like the sewers and the expressway. You know, there were moments where it just kind of felt a bit like, oh. And I put more than double the time that I put into
Yeah.
my first Remake playthrough into Rebirth. And I think I only kind of really felt like that when I was, because it became a point of I need to do as many side quests as possible. I did the stupid thing and did everything pretty much. But the only things that I didn't do was Battle Square and Gilgamesh Island. Everything else was done, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, sit-ups. I've not gone back for them. Oh my God, Jules.
The jewel. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to go back for that. But
Have you done the sound? Have you done the piano?
Yeah, I've done the piano. I've got A ranking on everything. I need to get star ranking on a couple. But yeah, very, very enjoyable, the piano minigame. Very enjoyable. Queen's Blood. Oh my God.
Oh man, Queen's Blood is so good. So regarding Red 13 and the voice though, if you redo side quests after you visit Cosmo and you hear those in his more youthful voice, also like some of the scripting plays out different, I had more appreciation for it. Also, I will acknowledge that Max Middleman is a fantastic voice actor. If he could do both of those voices, like that's crazy. That One Punch Man is those two voices, you know. Yeah. So
yeah, it is. It does show that he's got pretty crazy range.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So just to answer the question, narratively, my two favorites were Chapter 9 and Chapter 14. 13 is really close there.
Close to,
very close. At least the last, honestly, half. But in terms of chapters that really I had some story issues with, I did not like what they did with the composition of Dine in Chapter 8. I really liked Dine's voice. I really liked which I didn't think I was going to. I didn't actually like Dine's voice in the trailer. And then
after the trailer, exactly. It seemed a bit weird in the trailer.
And then
I think we spoke about it, yeah.
Oh, we did. Yeah, that's right. And and he kind of nailed it. And so did John Eric Bentley. And it's one of those things, like I feel really like uncomfortable saying that it's bad, because it's not bad. Like I had a emotional gut, like tearful reaction when I first heard John Bentley's, very solemn tears. Like, I mean, he just knocked it out of the park. Like,
nailed it.
He really made me feel like he had just lost, his best friend.
The trial as well.
And then the trial was fantastic. Yeah. And so I really don't want people to not know that I didn't feel anything walking away from it. But there was just some of the, pacing stuff, Suicide by Cop stuff, the setting itself, the lack of Marlene's grave, that kind of stuff was, it was sanitized in a way that I didn't like, but nothing even comes close for me personally. And to Chapter 11, I liked the Nibel region.
Yeah.
I did not like the return to Nibelheim. I get why they did it. I didn't like that they turned it into a rehab clinic for the robes, and Shinra Manor was an atrocity. And I had this, I had all this copium that, like, when we went back, we'd be able to go upstairs, but like the safe on the wall, the safe, the safe code just being like a thing you pulled off the wall was hurt my heart. The Vincent boss fight was good, and I really like what they did with Roche's character, but hated the depiction in that chapter where he just like all of a sudden has a robe on. I was like, oh man, dude, that was
it was a bit quick, the switch over, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
felt a bit quick at least.
It was corny as shit.
I get what you're saying about the Shinra Manor as well. It is a little bit disappointing the way that played out.
Because one of the things is they really want to force you to play Kate Sith, because Kate Sith is a really cool character, like, to play. Like, he's actually super fun in, especially like an advanced play. He's kind of a beast, and
I've not cracked Kate Sith yet. I just know.
You'll figure it out, and you'll be like, oh shit.
I've not even used unless forced to. So,
yeah, and so they want to force you to use every character. I get that. However, what they didn't do is they didn't like make the manner creepy. They instead of like made it goofy. Also, the box throwing mini games were rough.
Yeah.
And they tied it to platinum too, which is like, it's like,
oh, did that? Oh,
yeah. So you have to. So if you don't do it the first time, you don't get 10 boxes the first time. It's hard to redo because you have to redo like this whole segment of shit.
Oh, I think I did get 10, thankfully. So
yeah, okay, that's good. Then you're good. And you know, like they did like the zombie horror kind of like almost like the real creepy vibe that you would get from that you were hoping to get from the Neville Mansion. They did that in other stuff. So it's not like they couldn't do it. They just didn't. And then also like the deep ground underneath Shinra Manor, like I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. They're gonna bring in all the dirge stuff, and instead it was just like a very sanitized, like, you know, almost like kind of procedural hallway area, and or just like an area I was really looking forward to. Is a bummer, but I did actually.
Well, we did have a lot of expectations going into it for the Nebel region, didn't we? So I get what you're saying. It's definitely a bit of a shame. I would have liked to have seen more like Cloud / Sephiroth flashbacky kind of mind-bending stuff in that chapter, to be honest, because it would have been Cloud like returning to the point of his trauma, basically.
You know, it's like the second place too, where it's like that, where it's like, okay, this is gonna be where we get all like the craziest lore dump. We're gonna get it at Cosmo Canyon from
we didn't
Bugenhagen.
get anything off Buga.
Yeah,
No.
we got,
Although
but
we did get the gate. We did get the gate.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's just get to lore stuff. So I have some rapid fire stuff for the ending that we will get to you know, maybe 20-30 minutes from now. But were there any details in the first 12 chapters that really got your brain bubbling? Like what was your kind of experience with, like, oh, this is the direction they're going. This is confusing. Oh, I can't wait to see what this is going to be. Like, what were significant like lore or mystery building moments?
One of the bigger ones for me was kind of enjoying seeing the way that Sephiroth was gradually replacing Zack as the thing that's imprinted on Cloud's psyche, and gradually seeing Cloud in those moments acting more and more like Sephiroth as the story progressed, and especially when we reach like Gongaga and stuff like that. It's insane. And then when we reach the temple as well, absolutely insane, although that's beyond where we're talking about. But yeah, seeing that kind of devolution of Cloud into that kind of cold, murderous character at certain points, that was quite fun to watch. The Gilgamesh stuff was interesting when Sephiroth's kind of involved in that kind of appearance of Gilgamesh that we spoke about earlier. But I think now what else? The Glenn stuff was quite interesting. I definitely found the Glenn stuff to be quite interesting, especially with, like, we're kind of waiting on chapter 7 now with the first soldier, just to kind of see what they're going to give us, because they're definitely going to give us something that's going to then feed back into Rebirth.
Hopefully.
And kind of how these weird connections.
Yeah, maybe we
existed.
finally get caught up, like right before part 3 drops, 2028 or whatever.
Yeah, they've got like 4 years to 4 chapters.
So yeah, absolutely. So
seeing the unfolding of the other world as well.
What were your thoughts about that?
Through the story, it kind of didn't make a massive amount of sense to me, obviously, until we got to the very latter stages of the game and kind of everything started clicking. But it was just, it always felt like it was some sort of other possibility, maybe, or something like that. The white materia was something that kept my brain going a little bit, and the fact that why is it clear in one and active in the other? Do you know what I mean? That was something that kept me interested, and again, we get the payoff for that later on. Yeah, there was a lot of things. I think it was little things just kind of spaced out here and there, just kind of dotted about that kind of kept me wanting to drive forwards towards the end of the game. But yeah, definitely the alternate world, definitely Cloud and his descent. That was probably the main one.
Yeah, that was fantastic, and that's something they really did set up in part one. I think is that there was always this. It was something that like you really had to kind of look at it to recognize that it was different. But now like there's no looking away, and I think that's a really cool way to do it. How about in terms?
The one would be the gay. That'd be the only other one. The gay.
Well, yeah. So I was gonna ask you about that. So I loved that segment. I think that the Guy Natak is like the new Bugenhagen, or like guy that comes in and drops all the sweet lore. Like I was so much more captivated when that dude showed up than.
Which was weird because I was massively expecting the Bugenhagen.
Yeah.
I was expecting him to know some shit. I was expecting him to be connected and plugged in, and he just
no.
wasn't. He was actually massively resistant to what we were trying to tell him.
Yeah, he was old, kind of a dick.
Stuck in his ways. Yeah, but it was.
I liked it. I liked it. I was okay with it. I was like, why should we trust this guy?
Why do you like this? What's going on, Booga?
Yeah, I know, but like when you think about it, you're like looking at it in a vacuum. It's like this guy like abused Red 13 for 50 years by lying about his dad. Like, and I know and the explanation was so weak, and I felt like the party should have spoke up when he was like, "Well, we didn't want you coming down here," and I felt like you could just be like, "Well, then tell him not to." I don't know, be a better parent, like, or say like. You could say anything, but he's a coward. You'd be like, he died fighting.
Yeah, there are better ways to keep that secret. Yeah.
Some
just don't keep the secret.
Yeah, some dumb monster over there, where it's totally safe now. Not he was a coward. Like there's just so many easier ways, and he just kept that going for like 50 years. But anyways, so. What were your thoughts on that whole sequence? And
I mean, at first it just completely caught me off guard. Like, even though we'd seen it in the trailers and kind of had a feeling that it was going to tie into the Black Materia and stuff like that, it just still completely caught me off the guard the way that they were trying to. I think the big thing that caught me off guard was coming from another world. Like, we are not of the planet, therefore we can't return to it. That was a big one for me because it was like, oh really? Another world, you say? And then in the context of what we get later on in the game, we know that they're not meaning like an alternate world as in like the context of the end of the game, like alternate realities and that sort of thing. They are literally saying another world, like similar to Jenova. Like this is the same sort of origin story as Jenova. Yeah. And it kind of makes me think, are the two connected maybe?
Yeah, are they? Yeah. Are there just aliens everywhere,
Well, it's just very weird because if they were from one of the other realities, they'd still be of the live stream.
Right. So that's this. Yeah, and we'll get into like we'll get into the other world shit at the end because there is like a distinction between the different types of other worlds that they kind of get into in the end. But so
did I hear Cat?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Charles is always he's always wants to get in on these. So that was great. Okay, I love the Gina Talk segment, and I was also like, I was surprised they answered the question, where did the black materia come from? Like, what is the black materia? I never expected that answer ever. Like, it was one of the, because they've had many opportunities to give us like a vague understanding of what the hell that is, and they've never even tried. So I was surprised that they not only explained it, but connected it to an existing piece of lore. Like that was wild to me. I loved it though, and I was glad that they did it. And it also, I think, really cemented sort of the core themes about, despair and extinction and the extinguishment of life and stuff like that. And also, I think maybe sort of added a shade of gray to the Cetra.
Yeah, because a little bit, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
kind of, it's all about perspective, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, that's what it comes down to the Gi, the evil bad guys, but to the Cetra, they're the good guys doing the right thing. And to the outsider, it kind of looks a bit
Yeah.
like, well, what choice? Because, I mean, the Gi just kind of want it to end at this point, don't they? They want oblivion. They
Yeah.
want the end of everything. That's the whole kind of point of it. So from their perspective, what they're doing, like, if you kind of empathize with them a little bit, you can understand why they would want the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? An eternity just trapped in non-existence, basically. Can't be fun.
Absolutely. And like he even kind of refers to them as intolerant. And you know, like
And you do get that vibe from the Cetra a little bit.
you do.
The way that they talk about humanity and like the Gi themselves in that scene, you do get that vibe.
And even the depiction, like on the mural, it feels like they kind of have this, like the kind of prismatic selection of them does seem like kind of affiliation coded, you know, and then also like the kind of neutrality of Minerva, you know, and it's just so I mean, like there is precedent for them not being you know, like paragons, but it's just I love when they go out of their way to maybe paint that, you know, a little bit more
explicitly, just lay it out there for you. Don't kind of leave it to suggestion, just actually no, they were dicks.
Exactly. Exactly. So characters, I think is a very heavily character driven narrative, and all the characters had moments, like all of them. What were some of the highlights for character moments and character development for you?
I mean, I think again Barrett shone through like he did in Remake pretty massively. Like in Remake, Barrett was probably one of my favorite characters. Like beyond Cloud, Aerith, Sephiroth, like it probably becomes Barrett then. And same again in Rebirth, he just absolutely smashed it. The scenes that he, you know, his character was in were amazing. Like the dying scene, I really enjoyed it, but like same sort of vibe. The Palmer bit kind of ruined it for me and kind of took me out of it. I kind of wanted to sit and stew in that for a little bit, because it was definitely one of those moments. They did it perfectly with Barrett's trial, because you just kind of sat there after it like, shit.
Yeah.
And you don't get that moment, I don't think, with dying. So I kind of wish they'd done that a bit more. But yeah, again, it's going to circle back to Cloud and all of the little moments where you see him kind of wavering between the two different personalities that he's got going on there. The normal, happy Cloud, and then the really dark, really... Oh, it was just so good. It was so good. As far as cameos, Kyrie surprised me a little bit. I enjoyed Kyrie much more than I did in Remake. I thought it was much more tolerable